Hello, and thank you for joining our Food Distribution Program webinar on Processing Value Pass-Through Systems, the third in a series of 5 webinars planned for the current school year. My name is Jeanette Lund. I'm a processing consultant with the California Department of Education Food Distribution Program, and today I am being joined by behind the scenes by processing consultants Nina Carr and Juliet Barbero, who will be assisting in answering any questions. The purpose of this webinar is to give our agencies a better understanding of how recipient agencies receive the full value of their U.S. Department of Agriculture foods when using a processor. We would like to emphasize that this webinar is intended for our state co-op members and allocation agencies. However, it can provide some clarity for any participant of the FDP. Throughout this webinar, we will be using some commonly used initialisms and terms that I want to highlight. The discounted net price is the USDA Foods discount that has already been deducted from the case price. The Food Distribution Program, or FDP, is the program at the California Department of Education that oversees the ordering and the distribution of USDA foods. A recipient agency, or RA, refers to a school, district, or co-op. Just a reminder, commodities are now referred to as USDA Foods with a capital F. And value pass-through, or VPT, is the method through which an RA receives their USDA Foods discount. In this webinar, we are going to discuss how to make sure that you are receiving your entitlement discount when diverting USDA foods to processors by understanding the 4 value pass-through systems: direct ship, direct indirect refund, fee-for-service, and net off invoice. Federal law requires that RAs receive the full value of their USDA foods. When processing, this value must be passed through to the RA by the processor. The method used to credit the RA is called the value pass-through, or VPT. There are 4 primary forms of VPT with variations in each that processors can use to provide schools with the USDA Foods discount on their cases of processed USDA Foods end products. Understanding the VPT systems is critical to ensure that your RA is being credited for the value of the entitlement dollars that you spent on USDA foods contained in the processed cases of product. RAs should discuss with their potential processors and/or distributors which VPT systems are available and what processors and distributors' specific procedures are for conducting the VPT. The first VPT method that we'll be looking at is the direct ship method. With direct ship, the processor ships directly to the RA. The processor invoices the RA at the discounted net price, which means that the value of the USDA foods has been deducted from the total cost. It is imperative that you indicate which sales channel you use, whether it is direct ship or through a distributor, on the online reporting system used by the processor, such as K-12 Food Service or Processor Link, to ensure that you are getting the correct discounts. Direct and indirect refund methods are rarely used. However, it is important to know if you are being invoiced this way. When using the direct and indirect refund method, the processor sends the end product directly to the RA, direct, or to the RA through a distributor, indirect, and charges the full or commercial price for the end product. The RA must then apply for a refund from the processor within 30 days. If the value is less than $25, the RA is allowed to apply quarterly. The RA's USDA Foods inventory is reduced when the processor pays the refund. Be advised that your invoice may not indicate that this is the value pass-through method that is being used. It is up to you to know which method of VPT is being used and how you are receiving your entitlement credits. Now let's look at fee-for-service. Generally, fee-for-service is used for meat and poultry processing. Similar to direct ship, the fee-for-service price is all-inclusive. The USDA Foods discount has already been deducted from the case price when it is shipped out by the processor and received by the RA and/or the distributor. The case price represents the processor's cost of any additional ingredients, labor, packaging, and administrative costs incurred in the conversion of the bulk USDA foods into the end product. Under fee-for-service, the end products may be delivered by the processor or by a commercial distributor. If the processor delivers directly to the RA, the shipping charge might be built into the case price or listed separately on the invoice. If a distributor delivers to the RA, there are two payment options. One, the RA is invoiced by the processor for the case price and separately by the distributor for delivery and storage. Or two, the processor arranges for delivery through a distributor on behalf of the RA. The RA's invoice should include separate identifiable charges for both the fee-for-service case price and the distributor's charges. Here is an example of a fee-for-service invoice which can come from either a processor or a distributor. This is determined by the FFS line item listed under item number, which is the second circle that we're looking at. Remember, the case price is all-inclusive and already has the value of the USDA Foods deducted. Here, the delivery storage fees are listed separately, which is notated as FFS at $3.50 per case. This price varies between RAs as it is negotiated. You should verify you are being charged the correct FFS on your bid document. In this example, we have 5 cases of end product containing USDA Foods were delivered. You can see that in the first circle. So we have $37.50 times 5 cases equals $187.50 for the cost of the USDA end products. And then an additional shipping handling fee is $3.50 per case. So $3.50 times 5 equals $17.50 delivery fee. The last value pass-through method we will be looking at today is net off invoice. Net off invoice is where the processor sells an end product containing USDA Foods at the commercial price to a distributor who then sells it to the RA at the discounted net price, meaning that the cost of the USDA Foods has been deducted. Since the distributor buys at the commercial price and sells at the discounted net price, the distributor needs to apply for a refund from the processor. The RA's USDA Foods inventory balance at the processor is reduced when the refund is paid to the distributor for the agency's order. The delivery fee should either be listed separately on the invoice from the distributor or listed on another document that clearly outlines the delivery charges. It is the processor's responsibility to verify that the sales made to an RA from the distributor were at the discounted rate. The processor confirms with the RA that they have received and paid the discounted net price. With net off invoice, an RA's inventory is reduced when, first, the distributor generates an automated sales report, the distributor sends the ASR to the processor then reimburses the distributor, and the processor reduces the recipient agency's USDA Foods inventory balance. An RA's inventory usage should be reflected on the online management system that the processor uses. Again, K-12, Processor Link, or their own management system. As an RA, if you notice that your usage is not being reflected correctly, please contact the processor or your distributor. Okay, this is an example of an NOI invoice. Each USDA Foods is required to be listed as a separate line item. The amount discounted per case is listed under the unit price, which is multiplied by the amount of cases shipped. For instance, the first item that uses USDA Foods on this invoice is the peanut butter and strawberry jelly wheat sandwich, which uses USDA peanut butter. The value for the peanut butter is $4.77 per case. This number can be verified on the SCPDS, which we will be looking at soon. There is only one case of this item, so the value pass-through is $4.77. If you look at the second item highlighted, the PB and grape jelly sandwich, you will notice that it also uses the same USDA peanut butter at $4.77 per case. But you will notice that there are 3 cases invoiced. The value pass-through should be $4.77 times 3, equaling $14.31. But the value pass-through is listed as $4.77 total. If you find an error, contact your distributor immediately, as it is the RA's responsibility to make sure that they are receiving the correct value pass-through. With NOI, since the processor is not the one directly providing the USDA Foods discount to the RA, the processor is required to verify that the distributor invoiced only RAs participating in the food distribution program and at the discounted net price. This is done when the processor sends a summary to each RA to verify they were invoiced by the distributor at the discounted price. This is done twice a school year, after the July through December and the January through June sales periods. Some processors use their online reporting system for their sales verification, such as K-12 or ProcessorLink. A non-response from an RA is considered a positive response, and the processor assumes that the product was sold at the discounted net price. The state is required to contact a percentage of the schools to re-verify sales, so RAs may hear from our office regarding sales verification. The state re-verifies sales twice a year. If an RA has been contacted by the FDP, processor, or broker about not using their USDA Foods balances at a processor, the RA may need to follow up with their distributor to see if they have been applying for the refunds from the processor. Here is another example of an invoice from a distributor. You can see that an invoice can contain multiple value pass-through methods, as it is determined which method is used by the processor. Some of the costs have been deleted as they are negotiable. The first and third highlighted items, the peanut butter and jelly sandwich and the grilled cheese and turkey sandwich, is an example of NOI. Each USDA Foods used in the end product is listed as a separate line item. In this example, peanut butter and cheese. The amount discounted per case is listed under the unit price, which is multiplied by the amount of cases shipped. The second item, Mandarin orange chicken, is an example of fee-for-service. Remember, the case price has already had the value of the USDA Foods deducted, and the delivery handling charges are listed as a separate line item. This is the summary end product data schedule, or SEPDS, that I mentioned earlier. Every processor has an SEPDS that has been approved on a yearly basis by the USDA and or the state for each item that they make that contains USDA Foods. The importance of the SEPDS is that it lists the amount of USDA Foods that goes into each processed item or end product and the value of that item. This information will give you the amount of pounds that will be drawn down per case when you order the end product and how much you will be credited. A copy of the SEPDS can be obtained from the processor or the processing consultant at the state FDP. Let's have a closer look at the SEPDS. The first arrow points to column E, which lists the USDA Foods and the item code number that it is assigned to. The second arrow indicates the amount of USDA food shown in pounds used for each case of end products. The third arrow is the per pound value of the USDA foods used in each end product. The value of each USDA foods item is the same for each state and each processor, and it cannot be changed. It is determined by the USDA and is posted on the USDA FNS Food Distribution Processor Pricing Reports webpage. We are currently in school year 16. The last arrow shows the amount of dollars that you will be discounted for each case of end product that contains USDA foods. Note that an end product can contain more than one USDA foods item. If there are multiple USDA foods in an end product, the discount would be cumulative. The final purchase price of the end product may change from district to district based on contract terms, additional fees for service, distribution fees, etc. One thing to note is that if you go out to bid, the drawdown and the value of the USDA foods used in processing an item cannot be negotiated. The final price is where the negotiation takes place. We are just about at the end of our webinar. Today we looked at the different value pass-through systems and how they work to ensure that you receive your entitlement discount when diverting USDA foods to processors. We reviewed how to determine what the correct value of USDA foods should be deducted from an end product by reviewing the SCPDS. And we also looked at several examples of an invoice and the importance of reviewing it to make sure you are receiving the correct value pass-through. If you have any additional questions, please contact the Food Distribution Program or one of the processing consultants. We're always happy to help. And yes, that is us. But we are required to remind you that this institution is an equal opportunity provider. And this now concludes our webinar. We thank you for spending the afternoon with us and hope you enjoyed today's presentation.